Wolcen, the 2019 ARPG, started off with a very rocky first couple of years. It was full of bugs and full of issues, but now it's 2023. It finally has its final chapter, and it's probably in the best shape it's ever been. Is it the best ARPG of 2023, or is it even worth playing in 2023? Let's check it out. So first we're going to talk about the pros of it, and the first thing to talk about is the graphics. The graphics for this game, absolutely beautiful. I can hands down say this is the most beautiful ARPG out there. And it probably is even more beautiful than Last Epoch. The Last Epoch is a very beautiful ARPG, but I think this still edges it out in the category of graphics. Everything is just perfect here. The lighting, the colors, the monster designs, the environments, the skills, and how they, open up in colors when you cast them. It's just so beautiful. However, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing, arguably, is the gameplay. Is this a fun game to play? Is this a satisfying game to play? These are very important questions with ARPGs, right? Most of us play the ARPGs because of the satisfying gameplay. There's just something that scratches that itch. So is Wolcen part of the satisfying ARPG games now? It really is. There's nothing better than casting a spell or using your hammer to just absolutely destroy 40 enemies around you and see them explode into blood and, flesh. There's lights going on all over the place, and that graphics aspect combined with the gameplay makes this game extremely satisfying to play. It's so much fun and so addictive. All I want to do is just keep running hunts, keep doing endgame progression just for the satisfying gameplay. I don't even care about, making my character better. Obviously, that's still very much fun, but I love just smashing monsters. And to top that off, I get to use the Hammer of Dawn from Gears of War. I mean, you guys have probably seen it in the video even a couple seconds ago. That's an incredible skill. I absolutely love it. And, there's 30 other skills to play with. So if that doesn't tickle your fancy, something else will. So speaking of skills, another pro of Wolcen now is the build diversity. I think the build diversity is phenomenal. I think it's so much better than even what I've seen in the Diablo 4 beta. I think it's maybe around the same level, or if not a little bit better than Last Epoch as well. So the first thing you want to talk about is the skills themselves. So every skill has kind of like a sub skill tree here. You get skill points. When you fully maxed out a skill like I have here, you get 10 skill points that you can distribute amongst the skill tree to further increase that skill and make it more powerful, or make it last longer, or make it have more crit damage. And on top of that, you can also even change what kind of damage that skill does. Like, you can go from sacred energy to toxic energy to lightning energy to cold energy, depending on what is available for that skill. I think that customizability is really, really, really cool. So with those skills as well, if you want to have more of the same skill, you can duplicate that skill. This is the only game I've kind of seen this available where you can duplicate a skill 2 times. So you can have 3 copies of any skill. Oh, you like the golem? Okay, why don't you have 3 golems? Let's duplicate that skill 2 more times. Cool, you want to have ice shards? Okay, well, maybe you want to have ice shards that are doing sacred damage and ice shards that are doing ether damage as well as frost damage. So let's duplicate it 2 more times. That's super, super, super cool. It just adds a whole extra layer of complexity, and I am all for it. Now, I also really, really love the skill tree. The skill tree is super, super cool. It's composed of 3 circles. There's an inner circle, a middle circle, and an outer ring circle. Each of these 3 circles / rings can be moved and turned. So let's say, you know, right now we can see it in the top half of my skill tree. I'm going from a purple to a red. However, if I wanted to go from a purple to a green to a purple, I could change the positioning of the inner circle. I could change the positioning of the middle circle. I could change the positioning of the outer circle. All three circles are completely interchangeable, so that way you can make a ton of different builds and a variety of builds out there. To top that off, you also get a ton of these I guess skill tree points to choose from. So it's not quite as in depth as like Path of Exile, but holy moly, there is a ton of build diversity to choose from. You are not going to be forced to play one of three different types of builds. You can kind of build your character to your heart's desire, and it most likely will be viable up to a certain amount in the end game. Now, I think that's really, really cool, right? Because some games you play them and you're like, damn, oh man, I can't do anything with this build because it's not optimized, it's not min-maxed, right? Well, in this one, you have the choice to do almost whatever you want. It is awesome. Another pro, hunt modifiers. So at the end game, you're going to be running these hunts, you know, curse breaker expeditions, mandates, whatever. However, when you run these hunts, you can add additional modifiers. Let's say you want to increase your productivity, magic find, and item quantity. Just add a bunch of modifiers. It makes the hunt more difficult, but it also rewards you if you're able to complete it. Now, I think that's an extra level of complexity added there. You know, let's say someone wants more of a challenge. This is really, really cool. I'm a huge fan of the hunt modifiers, and I like how it changes the gameplay. Honestly, it actually makes it pretty difficult when you put 5 modifiers on there. Really cool. Another pro, and probably the last one on the list, are the prey hunts. Sometimes when you're doing a hunt, you run into these circular objects, you're gonna start tracking a prey, and then after you do, I don't know, 4, 5, or 6 of these circles, you finally end up in the last one, where you spawn the prey, you fight it, and you get really awesome loot. And depending on what modifiers you select in those original 5, 6 circles, you can make your prey way more difficult, and so they can also drop way better loot. Like right over here, I'm gonna get an orange, a legendary, along with a bunch of really, really good rares. So that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about the cons, okay? This game is not without its flaws. One of the biggest issues is the bugginess, alright? I've mostly played with an offline character. However, I did play online a little bit as well. The online has been fixed way better than it was a few years ago. It's, you know, it's playable. It will save your character's progress. It still is laggy and buggy sometimes, but it's way better than it used to be. One of the issues I ran into, you'll see here if you listen, the voice chat is desynced with the actual video, and this has happened to me in a couple of different cutscenes.
No matter the odds.
Yeah, so, you know, that's not great. It kind of screws up, you know, the feeling of that cutscene a little bit. Another bug I ran into quite often, actually, in Chapter 3 was my skills losing their animations. You can see here I'm trying to cast my Annihilation Kamehameha beam, and my character's just sticking out his hands, but there's no beam coming out, and enemies are just dying. And that really ruins the gameplay when this is happening, because, like I said before, I like the satisfying gameplay. So if I can't do it, then, you know, what's the point? I guess the other con to the game is also having a limited endgame progression. You know, you get to level 60, 65 when you're done all the story, and then from 65 to 90 you do these hunts that we talked about, and with these hunts you have this central system where you're building up your base. You know, you can start projects with the materials that you get on the hunts, and you can then get better loot, you can face stronger monsters, you can face some uber bosses. But once you hit level 90, basically the only thing left to do is increase the difficulty during the hunts, which in this game revolves around how many skulls are active. You know, so you can go up to 1,000 skulls, 5,000 skulls, 10,000 skulls, whatever, but that's really it. And the end game is a little bit limited as well because you're always kind of doing the same hunts and the same types of hunts over and over and over and over. And, you know, I do really enjoy those hunts, but can I do these hunts for 1,000 hours? I don't think so. I do think, however, you know, I can see myself playing this game for 100 to maybe 150, 200 hours total because the gameplay is so satisfying and the graphics are so darn good. I can see myself playing it for that amount of time, but I can't see myself playing it as much as, for example, Last Epic or Grim Dawn. You know, Grim Dawn doesn't look anywhere near as good as Wolcen. However, the end game is so much better in my opinion. So overall, what do I think of Wolcen in 2023? Is it the best ARPG out there right now? It is not. Is it a really good one? It for sure is. It is a phenomenal ARPG, and when it goes on sale, it goes down to like $10 US. Now, $10 US to get 100 hours worth of gameplay at least out of this thing, that is, in my books, very good bang for your buck. It looks really good. It plays really good. It has some bugs, and the end game isn't quite where it should be. But overall, the experience is phenomenal. It's very addictive, and you're constantly wanting to do other hunts. So guys, if you like this video, there's more to come, but please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and we'll catch you next time.